This video is intended to show you how to do an assembly, okay, specifically for the wheel assembly model. You by now should have built all parts of your wheel assembly. They should be saved over in your data panel. So in mine you can see I have an axle, a base plate, a support, a bushing, and a wheel. We're going to use multiple supports, multiple bushings, but you don't need to make two in here. You're just going to bring two of them over here to assemble them, okay? Here's my complete assembly. I'm going to open it up. This is what it should look like when you're all done. Okay, so if I move it around, you can see, kind of for reference, there's a notch on the bottom. You got these sort of notches here on the side that allow these supports to sit in there. The fact that we've got holes lets them line up. Okay, in real life you could then put a bolt in there or a machine screw or whatever it is that holds it together. The bushings are right here between the support and the wheel. Okay, and then the wheel is in the middle. If I grab the wheel and I turn it, you can see by that little arrow that it's moving. Okay, so that's got a certain assembly that allows motion. If I grab this part, it doesn't move at all. Okay, so this is locked to this. So I think everything is locked. Let me think how I did this. I think the wheel is attached to the axle rigidly. So if I were to zoom in here and grab this axle, okay, I can turn it with the axle. So the axle is like basically welded to the wheel. If I were to grab the bushing, I think that's the bushing. Or maybe, I don't know if I can get the bushing. There it is. I'm grabbing the bushing now. That's turning the wheel and the axle. Or I can grab the wheel. Okay, so those things are like locked together, but they're left to spin within this support. Okay, so that's going to be what we're going to do in an assembly. Oh, and also, if you notice, there's a little orange dot right there. So this base plate is grounded, which means it can't move at all. And that just makes it easier to move the other parts. If nothing is grounded, then everything can kind of move around as you grab, like you grab the wheel and everything moves. And I want to be able to grab the wheel and only have the wheel spin. If I had like spokes in here, you could see it spinning better. But with that little indicator, you can tell. So let's just start. I'm going to do a new file here, untitled. Okay, you can't click on a part here and right click and say insert into current design, I don't think, until you save your untitled. Let me just try it. Yeah, see, I get an error message. Okay, so what you have to do is just, it's as simple as go and save. And I'm going to call it like assembly demo. Okay, and it goes in that same folder with everything else. The assembly demo is ready for use now. There it is. Okay, so now I can click on axle and right click and insert it. I can click on a base plate and I can insert that. Everything's going to just get bunched all together. So I'm going to, might as well move it apart right now. I can also do it later, but we'll just do it now. Hit OK. I need one of these. Insert. I can move that over here out of the way. And what else do I need? A bushing. I'm going to insert that. And they'll come in whatever orientation you built them. Meaning that if you started like on the horizontal sketch plane, it's going to be oriented that way. So if you were smart enough to think it through, you could have like designed everything so they'd come in the right world orientation. But it's not hard to rotate it now, so I'm not really too worried about it. Insert a wheel. Okay, I'm going to move the wheel out of the way over here. Hit OK. And I'll just save right now. It's always a good idea to save a lot. Saving, 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 saving. Okay. What else do I need? I need to make a copy of this one. Okay, so I'm going to grab it from here. I'm going to click on it, right click, and say, you can either go move copy, or you can just go copy and paste. Okay, I'll show you each way. I copied that. I'm going to click out here somewhere, and I'm going to go paste. And it comes on to exactly where the other one is located. So if I just move it away, I'm going to move it back here. You can kind of see the shadow there. Okay, I've got one there. The bushing, I'm going to click that. If I go move copy, what I have to do is I can click create a copy right there, and then I can just do it that way. So that's either way works to make a copy. Okay. One thing you may have noticed, which I don't know if it's required or not, but I went ahead and made all of these parts components. Okay, so like if I open up something like this guy, I'll double click it. It opened up over here. Okay, I went ahead and oh, I've got something. What is that message telling me? I don't even know. One or more. Oh, okay. So I think this happened because I turned it into a support, or I turned it into a component. Okay, if you right-click on, if yours is just a little cube up here, you can right-click and say New Component, and it makes a component. Okay, I'm not sure if you have to do it, or like, see, here's your cube, or if it works as like bodies. You know, I'm not really sure, and I don't know what this message means, so I'm going to not worry about it for now. I've never seen that before. So I'm going to close that out. Okay, so I've got all my parts here. I want to show you how to use this button, which is the assemble button. Let's just start with this. I'm going to put this on top of that. Okay, the way assemblies work, you've got these various options. Okay, some of the cool things you can do with it is you can use this feature, which lets you then test physics and find out if a part were to rotate through another part, which could be a problem. You know, you can test like range of motion. You can make it a rigid joint, which means it doesn't move, or you can make it a movable joint that lets you slide or rotate or any number of things. I'm going to just click out of that and just use the joint tool. Okay. Then what you need to do is say which part moves to which part. The first part always moves to the second part. And since this is kind of my base, I'm going to just say we want to move this to there. Then what you need to do is find something that you want to connect to that. So you could connect an edge to an edge, or a face to a face. But with circles and holes, the easiest is always to just connect the circle to a circle. So I'm going to go in here and zoom in tight and grab a corner of my cube and just turn it like that. Okay, that way I can see the bottom of this hole, and I'm going to select that. Then I'm going to pick the top of this hole, like that, and it goes over there, slides into place perfectly. That's what you want. Okay, if I go to motion, I want it to be a rigid one. If I were to make this a spinning, rotating assembly, it would let it move. But we don't want it to move. We just want it to be rigid. So make sure it says rigid and you hit OK. Okay, and you're done. This one we want to do the same thing, but if you were to put this hole on top of that hole, I don't know if it's smart enough to spin it around. We can try it. Okay, if it doesn't work, we can just undo it. So I'm going to say the bottom of that hole, and I'm going to say the top of, remember it's got to rotate the other direction, so the top of this hole. But see, it wasn't smart enough to spin it. Now what I could do from here is I could rotate it, make sure it's 180, 180, and then I can again test the motion is rigid, so I just say OK. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it, I'm going to delete that. So if I come down here, I can just delete that assembly. The way I usually like to do it is I'd rather pick that wheel support. That's this one because it's lit up. And then I'm going to right click and move copy it. Okay, and I'm going to rotate it first to 180, 180, enter. Now I know that I can get it right, and now it's easy. I just go assemble, Whenever you see this pop up, just capture the position. I'm going to zoom in so I make sure I get it right. Get the bottom of that hole. Get the top of that hole. Okay, I'll move this out of the way so you can see it. It all looks good, and I'm just going to say OK. And if I go to the home view, I've got the start of something magical happening. Let's just save. You're going to just see I tend to save anytime I do something. It's easier than wishing you saved later when you have to redo everything that you lost. Okay, so far so good. Maybe I can put the axle on next. Assemble. This is when you're going to wish you had a bigger screen. I'm going to grab the end of that axle. I'm going to grab the outside of this circle. Now see what it did is it went the opposite of what I wanted. So, and it's not letting me spin it the other way. It's only letting me spin this, which is pretty useless. So I'm going to say cancel. Let's try to do it again. I wonder if I can grab, maybe if I zoom in more, I want to get like that, and I want to get that. Still doing it the wrong way. Okay, so we have a couple things we could do. We could just move it over. If you remember how long that axle is, I think it's 3 inches. So if I go 3, no, how about if I go -3? That looks right, and I'm going to hit OK. And then I can check it with a top view. Everything looks lined up nicely. Okay, that's the axle. Okay, if you get lucky, it will actually fit the right way the first time without having to do any modification. But you saw how I nudged it over 3 inches. You know, don't try to keep doing it the same way and expect a different result. It will always do the same thing, so you have to find a different way to do it. Maybe you use the back side of the axle against this support. But so far so good here. Now we're going to put on a bushing. Okay, so I'm going to go assemble. I'm going to assemble, let's see, let's try the end of that bushing up against the end of that axle. See, and it went totally the wrong way. So I'm going to cancel that out. Maybe I can start with this bushing and rotate it the right way. Often that will help. We're working with this bushing, so I'm going to go right click it and move copy. And I want to rotate it 90 degrees that way. Okay. That's got a little more of a chance of getting it right. And now if I go and I assemble it, I'm going to capture that position, and I'm going to see if this will work against that, and it looks like it does. I find a lot of times if you rotate it so it's in the right orientation, it's got a better chance of working right, because otherwise it may just rotate it, you know, the wrong way. So like this bushing now, let's just do the exact same procedure. So I've got this bushing picked, I'm going to right click and I'm going to move copy that, and I'm going to rotate that one to face this way, 90, enter. Oh, that's looking backwards. Let's try it again. That bushing, right click, move copy. I don't know why it didn't. Oh, it's supposed to be -90. -90, enter. Okay, and now let's just turn it. Okay, it looks like the bushing fits right up tight against the axle there. So I could do a different type of assembly. I could go assemble. I could probably assemble that face up against that face of the axle. And see if it works. That didn't work. I can kind of see both faces again. I'm going to try it again. So I'm going to go this, and I'm going to say, like, maybe I'll try that circle, and I'll try that circle. Okay, and that looked like it worked. Now the way I've got everything in here built is all rigid. Okay, you really don't want everything rigid because you want to be able to spin it. If I grab this axle right now, nothing works, nothing moves. I I told you at the beginning that this base plate was grounded. See right now, if I grab the axle, everything moves. It's easy to work if you fix something in place. So I'm going to right click on this base plate and ground it. Okay, so now if I grab the axle, nothing moves because everything is locked to this, and this doesn't move at all. So maybe if I grab, if I say the axle is connected to the bushing, maybe the axle should spin within the bushing. Okay, so if I come into this assembly here and I double click it, I could turn the motion to be a spin motion. And now, what's turning here? This bushing is turning. Okay, that's good. But this axle, I believe, is fixed right here to the side plate. So I've got to find that assembly. And if you kind of hover over them, you can see which one. I think this is the one. You can even rename. Like this one is the bushing to the axle. So I'm going to right click and rename it and call it bushing to axle. Okay. If your model gets complicated, it gets really hard to start finding what you want. Okay, so this one says bushing to axle. This one, where is this one? That one. I think this is the axle to the side. This is the, let's rename that. This is my first assembly. That was the base to, what do you call it? Base to brace, I'm going to call it. Okay, and this is the other base to brace. Base to brace. Okay, so now I think this is the one I want. So I'm going to double click that one, and that should be this one right here. And I'm going to change that motion to be allowing a revolution. Okay, that looks good. Hit OK. So now you notice if I grab the axle, it's turning. Okay, and if I grab that bushing, it also turns because the bushing is connected to the axle. Okay, and remember I renamed these just so that if I hover I can say that's the base to brace, that's the other base to brace, that is, I don't know which one that is. I think that's pushing the axle. This one is pushing the axle, I think. No, so one of them is that's a revolution, so that I believe is axle to brace. Yeah, that's axle to brace. And renaming is optional, but it's a good idea as models get really complicated. Enter. Okay, so only thing I have left to do now is the wheel. I'm going to do a rigid connection from the wheel to the axle because my axle already turns, so I don't need to have the wheel also turn. In this one, I'm going to again go assembly, capture position. Okay, if you can get the middle of the wheel, that's really the best. I end up clicking this, and I click this. It moves it right in place. Okay. I'm going to just hit OK, and then when I go to top view, hopefully it's centered. Okay. If it's not centered, you can always nudge it by moving it, but it looks perfect. Oh no, it's a little off. See, there's a little gap right there. Where on this side, there's no gap. So what I want to do is move that wheel down a little bit. So I'm going to grab the wheel from here. I'm going to go move copy, and I'm going to move it down. And you really don't want to just wing it. You really want to type in like, I don't know, -0.125, enter. Let's see if that fixed it. I don't think it did. I'm going to go to a side view. Maybe that would be better. I'm going to rotate it so it looks logical. Okay, so I'm going to try it again. Now, did it move the axle too? I don't think it did. So I'm going to go wheel, move copy, And so I'll tell you, if you can pick the center point of that wheel and put it on the center point of the axle, you don't have to deal with this. See, and this isn't even moving, so I don't know what I'm doing right now. Like, it's not doing anything. Gosh, I don't know why it's moving. Oh, you know what? I'm going to cancel. I can try ungrounding. Maybe that's the problem. Move copy. Now, see, now it's moving all that stuff. So I'm going to cancel. Maybe I need to edit my last assembly there. Let's try that. Oh, there you go. So I double click and edit my assembly, and now I can fine tune it right there. Okay, so I'm going to go like -0.1, enter, and then check it out. And there should be an easy math problem to figure out what distance you need, but I spent a bunch of time the first time I did this to try to get it just right. See, it looks like -0.1 is got it almost back over here, so I'm going to go -0.05. It made me a little crazy trying to use math because it kept going the opposite of what I wanted. So there's -0.05. That's pretty darn close. I'm going to live with it in the interest of wrapping up this video. Okay, I've got it all assembled. If I grab the wheel, let's just see, now I can't rotate my wheel because everything moves. So I'm going to just pick this, and I'm going to right click and ground it again, capture the position, and I can have the satisfaction of turning it and seeing my stuff move. Okay, that's how you do an assembly. Save it. And I'm watching it save, and I'm going to see it over here in my data panel. Okay, so now I know I'm good to go.